Hello, the game has started. It's me to go fast. This is a grim rack. I can't play the Q, and there are non-synergetic, non-bingo-y tiles in the B and the F. I'm just wondering if it's best to change. I can't see a way of playing the B and the F, and I don't want to be stuck with the Q. So I am going to change. Wow, more grimness, 4 T's. This could well be another change. If my opponent plays an R, maybe a word like better would be okay. It's not the end of the world keeping 2 T's, especially if I'm playing 2. I'm unlikely to draw a third. But as it stands, this is pretty grim. And even if my opponent does play an R, I'm not going to be scoring very much. And if I do change, I'll be chucking back the 5 tiles I've drawn. My opponent's quite highly rated. Let's see what publicly available information is on him. Okay, not terribly much. But he's taking a while with his opening move, so maybe he's close to a bingo. TET is also a possibility, keeping BE-double-T. That really depends on what my opponent plays. Because if he changes, then a play of TET is not going to be better than changing. If one of my T's was an A or an R, I would have B-tatter through the right floater. "17 minutes on my opponent's clock. He doesn't bingo. No R. I could play better BE-double-T-A onto the A of Vapid. 14 points. Keeping E-double-T. I think that is better than changing. Now, what about playing TET underneath here? 13 points. Well, I could play TETE for an extra 4, keeping B-double-T. Well, I think I'd rather have the E on my rack. And placing my B above the I could play BET, but I can't play off 2 T's in that spot. I think I'll take out this double-double lane. 14 points. Not great. But I do have a scoring tile in the W. I have twang on my rack. Nowhere great for that. I've got GNAW, G-N-A-W, in column 4, but that's retaining 2 T's. Now, do I have an ING word in column 7? No. So, purely as this rack stands, I think twang would sort the rack out best, but there is nowhere for that. BNOR is also good, but that keeps 2 T's and doesn't score very much. Nat Ren is good, but I don't quite have the tiles for that. Nice play by my opponent. Good score. Doesn't provide much for me. Just looking to see if Twang plays, and it doesn't. So what do I have in column 3? Well, I could play wage. £36, which is pretty good. Just wondering if I've got a play which ends with a T here. Well, I do. I've got a tat, but that's keeping G and W, and they're both non-bingo-y. N-double-T, not a great rack leave. But they are bingo-y tiles. Let's see if I can draw well. Now, wage takes an S in front, so this is quite an open move. Wow, look at that. Both blanks, wholly undeserved, but I'm glad to have them. So, do I have a bingo? I have battened in column 8 onto this D. Do I have anything sticking an S in front of wage? I have botnets on my rack. That plays in row G above the eye of Vapid. It can be difficult to see bingos with 2 blanks, but since I'm particularly interested in the blank as an S, let me stick that in there. So I have battens, but I'm thinking about words which work with wage. Let's see if I can move this over here into the right spot alphabetically. Nearly there. Okay, so now I can run through the alphabet. Actually, I don't need to run through the alphabet. I just need to consider the blank as a vowel. So, as an A, that's battens. And that plays down here, making out, or indeed across here. What about an E? I note that my bat end spot has gone. Can't see anything there. So the next vowel is an I. Nothing. Next one is an O. That's botnets. And then the final one is a U. No. Okay, so I don't have a play in row A that I can see. I've got battens down in column 10. Just wondering about a play in column 8 going through D, O. Well, that doesn't look very likely with these floaters, or certainly not ending on a triple word square. Well, I'm grateful to have a bingo after the grim start to this game, rack-wise. Not great sticking this S out here. But I do want to get the B tripled. Not great. Bingo-y tiles, but unbalanced, only one vowel, and not really any floating vowels on the board. The A of battens not available for a bingo with my current rack. I do have an S for going in front of wage. But I'm going to struggle to score with this rack. Wow, nice bingo by my opponent. He's now got a 16-point lead. And he's provided a floating E, which isn't quite good enough for me. I don't see a bingo through it. So, how to sort this rack out? I guess a player of something like Rend would do that. I can't see a way of scoring making swage. And I'm struggling to see high-scoring tiles on the board that I can use. I can't play in column 2. I don't have a vowel for going in front of W. I could play trends across here. 24 points. It wrecks the rack leave. So can I do better than that? I could play Rend across here. 15 points. Keeping 4 vowels. I don't like doing that. Now, what about a play in column 7, placing a D or an R in here, in front of out? Well, I can see Nidai, but that's keeping 2 R's. Leary, that's quite a nice rack leave, only 11 points, but the rack leave is good, so I think I'll go with that. I have endorse. Does that play? Well, it endorses plays in row L. And does endorse have any anagrams? My opponent blocks my spot, but he's provided a new one because harasser is good. But endorse would end 1 square short of the double word square, so I don't like that. I may be stuck with it though. Well, I would have endorser through the R. But that opens up row O. I think endorsee may be good, but that doesn't get doubled. So I'm glad to have a bingo, but this isn't a great board for it. And in particular, is there an anagram of endorse? Can't see one. I think I will play in column 14 to get all the value from harasser. No, I don't think I will, because I think opening up the triple word squares in column 15 is more dangerous. I think I would prefer to play endorser down here. Not as dangerous. Okay, that doesn't... My apologies, I was thinking about down here. Which again allows an S to be played here, but not as dangerous. Let me think about this. I'm going to put this down. But actually, I think I'm going to pluralize harasser, because sticking an O here allows a 4-letter play in row H for a lot of points. "11 minutes on my clock. Endorse 71. Great. That looks pretty good. I have unfelted in column 2, and do I have defluent? Well, I do have defluent, but it doesn't play. But unfelted does. Hopefully, my opponent will be distracted to the right-hand side of the board. I don't think I have a... And he is. I don't have a 7 with this rack. Otherwise, I may be able to put a tile on the end of endorse, which takes a D, E, R, and S, I think. Anyway, since the endorse hook is so hot, I'm glad to open up the board even more. I'm behind. This will put me slightly ahead. Unfelted 74. Bit of a horror show. So even having opened the board up, I'm not in a position to take advantage of anything. This is really grim. But there may be enough on offer to play. I've got Pewley and BY, which is better than changing. 25 points. I haven't got any of the hooks for endorse, and a non-bingo across here could score really well. Is there an eye available for juicy? I don't think there is. I'd quite like to play a lot of tiles with this rack, because they're all horrible. Just wondering if I can disrupt this hook. No, can't see a way of doing that. So at the moment, Pewley is all I've seen. That would keep CJU. Both blanks have gone. I can't see anywhere for my J. Well, that could have been worse. 36 points, and it takes out a dangerous hook. Just wondering if I definitely don't have anything down here. My U can go in front of N. But I don't think I do. So I'm thinking about playing Pewley in column 11. Is there anywhere better for Pewley? I've also got Rooley down here, but that's keeping the P. No reason for doing that. So Pewley 25. Not great, but not terrible either. It's always, or usually, nice to see the Z. And I have a couple of vowels, but the C and the G are not helpful. Through an S, I would have gross. Just looking around for Z spots. 29 points for my opponent. So 9 minutes on the clock, 16 tiles in the bag. I am 8 points behind. My Z could go on this triple letter square, ZO. But then an A could go in front of that. Not good. I don't have to play the Z off first. I could play Jow across here. 26 points. Jog down here. Even better, getting rid of one of the two problem tiles. And not providing anything for my opponent. 38 points is a great score. Rack leaves okay, given what I started with. There's always a possibility with the J and the Z of a big non-bingo score. So I'm just pausing in case I've overlooked something. Something, for example, like putting one of those tiles on this double letter square and getting it doubled. Well, I can't see anything. And I draw the X. Well, a bizarre game. The Q is still out there. No U's available. But a wide open U on the board in Pewley. So what could I play? I could play Crux through this U, which takes out that U, but retains the U on my rack in case I draw the Q. I've only got a 30-point lead and my opponent's on turn. So we're pretty much neck and neck. Just looking to see if I can play down here. I think the best I can do is, well, I was going to say 6, but that doesn't work. Wow, nice play. 36 points for my opponent. He's taken out the U and may have drawn the Q. He's drawn 5 tiles from the bag. And I have Zoopers across here. It burns my S, but it's going to score 50 points. But I've also got 6 down here. And 6 would retain the U in case I drew the Q. 7 minutes on my clock. I am 7 minutes behind. Let me see what these scores are. Zoopers 52. $6.50. Well, I prefer Zoopers. And although I'm burning my U, I'm keeping the I, so I could play QIS. And this looks a better rack leave. Zoopers for 52. Have I missed somewhere better for my Z or the X? I think the X is a more flexible tile to keep. For example, it can go underneath this E in a 2-letter play. Not many vowels to come. 7 vowels. Okay, I think I will go with this. That looks pretty good. Good scoring. I've got a 40-point lead, and the board's not particularly bingo-y, and I've got scoring tiles, and I've got vowels to go with them. Just wondering if I could do some sort of setup so that my X can score twice up here on top of this U. But I can't see a way of doing that. I was thinking of maybe playing underneath the Z such that my O could go above it, but there's no such play available. Now I've got Fix down here for a big score. Fix also plays across here, underneath Harasser. Harassers for a good score. And what's my opponent got? Well, the only scoring tiles out there are the Q, M, and C. And if my opponent's got the Q, he may struggle to play it. He may end up playing QIS down here for less than 20 points. 5 tiles in the bag. If he's got the Q, he probably does have an I. So if he doesn't play the Q, that suggests it's in the bag. Well, and that suggests he's got an S. But he is... I think that's okay. Because if he's... Supposing he plays QIS, which is pretty much the best he can do. 54 points. Well, he's 40 or 50 behind. Fix 47, that's a big score. I am empty in the bag, but it's a big score. If I draw the Q, I've got QIS. Well, if I draw the Q, it could be close. But I think I do need to play 3 tiles here. I don't see a great advantage in leaving one in the bag. Well, there is always an advantage in leaving one in the bag, but my point is that if I were to do so, it would be a big score sacrifice, and I think given the spot my opponent has opened, I want to keep scoring. I draw the Q. And the remaining tiles look quite bingo-y. But I don't think there's a bingo there. So my opponent can play mains. 48 points. He'll be 40 points behind. And I have got QIS up here. What if my opponent blocks QIS? Do I have a second spot for my Q? Yes, I do. I have QI and HI. So my opponent gets 45 points. He's only got an L. He is 40 points behind. I pretty much just need to play my Q to be sure of the win, I think. So if I play QIS here, 18 points. Just pausing in case there's a better spot for it. If I played QI and HI, 16 points. I'm not opening up anything great for my opponent's L. I do have 4 minutes on the clock, so I don't need to rush this play, but I'm not sure there's an awful lot to think about. I can't place my Q in front of this U. Just looking at my rack, no Q plays come to mind. I need to look out for N's in case I've got chin. Well, I've got chin here. And I would also have sank through an N. That doesn't work down here. Okay, I am going to go with this. This is 18 points. I think this is going to guarantee the win. So my opponent has got several spots for his L. He can play low or La. Kill, not good. Yeah. Okay, so pass to end the game. And the final score, 413 to my opponent, 454 to me, a winning margin of 41 points. So quite a tight game. And let's see what I missed. It was me to go fast. I changed. I could have played Blent for 20, keeping the Q, but it's non-synergetic with the F. There's probably not very much between Blent and changing. I prefer changing. Not a great rack for my opponent. He plays Vapid, and I played better. And, well, look at these rack leaves. I think better is okay. And it is better than changing. Now, my opponent's rack, he plays Mower. This was my rack, anew. I didn't consider that down here. That would have been nice. Instead, I played Wage for 36. Horrible rack for my opponent. He plays OU. And my rack suddenly transformed itself. Buttment, I didn't think of that. But Battens for 71 looks fine, except it's playing it here. Ah, it's playing it here, making buy and a do. Yeah, I think that would have been a better placement than the one I chose for 68 and more points. My opponent has Eta Aereo, nice spot. This is my rack. Wow, Doodlers, I didn't see that. Down from DWO, wow, nice, 33 points. Instead, I did Leary for 11, which looks terrible. But Leary keeps DENRS, and there's a floating E here. So it's not as bad as it looks, but I think Doodlers is better. My opponent has Harasser. Great spot by him. And I'm fortunate to have Endorse. Yeah, and having thought a lot about these plays, I ended up with Endorse, and I think it's okay. And as you can see, Endorse does take an E, so a lot of floaters here. A lot of hooks go on the end of Endorse, rather. My opponent's rack, he plays Hing, and I pick a bingo out of the bag, unfelted. My opponent's rack, he plays Void. I have a horrible rack, and at this point I'm just 4 points behind, but with a terrible rack, and a lot of good opportunities on the board, which I can't take advantage of, so I'm not in a great spot here. I played Pewley. That looks fine. My opponent plays I. My rack hasn't improved greatly, but with some vowels and high-scoring tiles, one can usually play one's way through things. So I played Jog. That looks fine. My opponent plays Carney. And then I played Zoopers. And I saw that fairly quickly and played it fairly quickly. But looking at the other moves, I think Zoopers is fine. My opponent's rack. This is where he played rock, keeping ILNNS. Not massively bingo-y given the rack leave and given the remaining tiles, but he is giving himself an opening which pretty much is for his own benefit only. This was my rack. Oxic for 49. Wow, where's that? Down here. Instead, I played Fix for 47. Well, probably not a great deal between those. Now here my opponent played Nanism for 45. Pretty much the best he could do. Well, given that my opponent's going out, I think it is a priority to play the Q. C6. QI and Gobi for 18. Well, that's the same score as Cheese and Key, so I think Cheese was optimal. And then finally, did my opponent get the best outs? Yes, he did. 6 points. So, pretty exciting game. About 2/3 of the way through, I thought I was an underdog, but despite having non-bingo racks, I actually did draw quite well and was able to score very well with the J, Z, and X, and that made the difference, and I was able to eke out a win against a strong opponent. So I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.